I'll admit, I'm not a sports fan, but I'm a big romance fan. And AOKANA was able to take a sport about competitive dogfighting and pair it up with some of the most wholesome relationships to turn it into one of the most thrilling and satisfying sports romances I've ever read. Now you might be asking, how does a visual novel of all things manage to convey these intense sports scenes? Well, with straightforward, uplifting spirit. In a world where flying through the sky is as simple as riding a bike, the competitive sport Flying Circus took the world by storm. Masaya Hinata, a renowned childhood prodigy at Flying Circus, ultimately turned his back on the sport, refusing to fly after a traumatic incident. However, years later, his former passion reignites as he teaches the cheerful transfer student Asuka Kurashina how to fly. And so, Masaya returns to the sport, not as a player, but as a coach, to form a Flying Circus team with Asuka to challenge the top athletes in all of Japan. Now, for a title full of flying and fighting in the sky, AOKANA sure loves to show off. Characters zip in and out, with streams of life trailing behind them. Action is shown through quick maneuvers, and character expressions cut in for dramatic impact. That's just visuals. AOKANA's music also perfectly fits the intensity of the matches too. Epic, grand, and bombastic. The music changes along with the mood, whether it's the beginning rush out of the gate or the decisive moment of a match with everything on the line. All this together, combined with its clear and concise writing, makes the matches fast-paced, lively, and thrilling to watch, both in playful competition and dirty dogfights. Sure, it's all fun and games at first, until the violins and brass instruments sound off. Victory is all that matters. Now, the girls might be the ones in the spotlight, but their coach is the most important. Masaya Hinata is a very interesting character in his own right, a retired prodigy thrust back into the world he left behind, all thanks to a bubbly, pure-hearted Pinky. Not only are these adorably cute dynamic duos super attractive, all the heroines' routes represent different facets of Masaya dealing with his trauma, because as much as his players need Masaya to make sure they don't crash and burn, he needs them as well. It's a really nice setup for both partners to develop and grow along with each other, even if they fumble terribly at first. I say this because, man, Masaya desperately needs help. Not in the trauma department, but in the romance department. One has gotta ask, how does one man whiff romance so hard? His denseness is astounding at times. Not annoyingly frustrating, but I'm praying for this man not to outright miss the most obvious of hints from a maiden in love. The man can't fly, but he sure has his head in the clouds all the time. And yet, that denseness actually has purpose in how it connects to the sports premise. So when our main leads overcome those misunderstandings and passionately support each other, it makes them even more powerful, granting them the inner strength to surpass anyone. Yeah, it's shonen battle energy powered through hugs, kisses, and sexy pillow talk. That's drama romance shit I'm on board with. Which is why we have to talk about the girl who carries the soul of AOKANA. The cheerful Pinky who calls Masaya the cutest literal nickname ever. Asuka is an absolute cutie pie, naive but passionately pure-hearted, full of love for the sky with all of her bountiful energy. She's so incredibly innocent that she doesn't even see the trail of destruction she leaves behind in her path. She's just that overwhelmingly eager for Flying Circus in the face of her opponents. Quite literally an airhead. There's no underestimating her limitless ambition and passion for the sky and Flying Circus. And understanding her or any of the heroines is what makes AOKANA so great as a sports romance. You not only have to know your player through a sports perspective, but through an interpersonal level too. So as their relationship grows, it develops both pure love and skill ability. Kissing transforms into power. Asuka doesn't have plot armor, she is a plot spear meant to pierce through the heavens. She is basically Dairy Pink Goku. The most resounding feeling when it comes to Asuka is, I have no idea what she's gonna do, but I'm gonna believe in her and support her with all I've got. Truly an incredibly satisfying route as she faces insurmountable enemies with pure vibes. Unfortunately, not everything is smooth sailing, and it had to happen to the only girl where her wife levels reached the fucking stratosphere. Rika is a very diligent person, very straightforward, almost by the book in terms of life and Flying Circus. Great at cooking, cleaning, all while being a very supportive partner and friend. The girl next door, putting the home in homey. Find yourself a girl that loves you like Rika loves fried chicken. It's unfortunate that she runs into the most ungraceful act to plague anime rom-coms. The old old accidental perverted moments, the classic case of anime rom-com tropes and one-note jokes bringing down the work as a whole. But my most furious point about all of this is that they didn't go all in. If you're gonna lean into romance, you double down, because I'm sorry, how do you not tap that wife ass when it's presented in front of you, Masaya? That hole was a goal and you missed it. Holy shit, that was a lost opportunity. You had the game and you dropped the ball. I can't even fathom the Despite my joking romantic frustration with Rika's route and other narrative issues, Rika's still super cute, and I think that's perfectly fine. She was just clearly outmatched. I'm still awarding her the MVP award for not only spotting the best facial expressions in the whole game, but by being the absolute best wing woman in the most adorable romance route, featuring the absolute worst player in FC. Mashiro is one cheeky, lively little fellow, a cute underclassman that adores and latches onto her beloved Misaki-senpai, almost to an obsessive degree. Wants to be loved, wants to be petted, wants to bug you. Wait a minute, this is just a cat. Mashiro's route might not be flying circus intensive like the other routes, but it sure does excel in other areas. For Mashiro and AOKANA is what would happen if you took fluffy romance and went all in, while also being the most wholesome and yet comically frustrating one out of all of them. Again, I gotta ask, how do you whiff so hard? Mashiro's route exemplifies the indirectness of anime rom-coms. Roundabout statements and comical misunderstandings galore. Masaya's bad enough already, but girl, you ain't doing yourself any favors either. Her route constantly switches POVs between her and Masaya, and it's a great move. We get to see both sides stress over their emotions like it's a shoujo manga, one more disastrous than the other, to an amusingly cute degree. But it's how, after countless failed attempts, when they finally reach that goal of understanding one another after removing all roundabout behavior and even reaching across the aisle, that makes all that hard work worth it in the end. Mashiro just makes you want to cheer for her. You want her to succeed, both in sports and in love. If you love romance, Mashiro is an absolute must-read. Additional fan disc concluded, but her cat cosplay is 100% worth it. On the other hand, if you love sports drama, Misaki's route is the clear standout. I say AOKANA is a sports romance, but fundamentally, it is a sports title at its core. One that tackles the emotional weight behind the spirit of competition, both positive and negative, while also questioning the value of talent, effort, and motivation. Not something you would expect from the laziest jokester around. Misaki's the type to monkey around, always making jokes and is up to no good half the time. She's someone in which her teasing tomfoolery cannot be contained. And yet she's a complete natural at flying circus, with unparalleled instincts that carry her through and through. Misaki is my least favorite character. I couldn't stand her endless jokes. She's someone who couldn't be bothered to put in the effort. She drove me up the wall. I just could not understand what was going through her mind until I read her route. Despite all of the shenanigans Misaki creates, she's the most dramatic one. For once she's finally pinned down, her route will show you the emotional depth of her deepest insecurities. Competition is all fun and games, but for her, victory isn't just all that matters, it's a matter of life or death. Here, AOKANA isn't treated as a traditional sports shonen. It's a well-written, character-focused introspection of those messy and negative emotions lying underneath the surface of competition. But just like all the others, it's a powerful showcase of the motivating power one can have when they devote everything to being a great intimate partner. As someone who's also a big fan of character-focused dramas, this was 100% up my alley. I can see why she's the most popular character in the polls, and totally deserving of that sequel fan disc. On another note, being dramatic when it comes to FC isn't the only thing. Watching these two go at it has got to be the most extremely awkward and yet unusually fitting interactions I've seen in an anime romance. Forget winning flying circus tournaments, the amount of mental gymnastics these two do is gold medal certified. AOKANA really puts in the work, both in romance and in sports. It's also the only title where it's perfectly fine for a coach to be dating their players and have it actually work out in their favor, because the intimate bonds formed all help uplift them to even greater heights, while having fun doing so. A 5 out of 5 with a seal of recommendation. Now, if you enjoyed this, you might want to check out this video over here. And helpful tip, practicing sports does indeed make you better at sex.